Welcome! I am so excited for today. We are going to be looking at something that has been my wife's obsession for the last few months, and I've been trying to get into it. This is Epic the Musical. Now, I'm coming at this as a fantasy author. I've written about 7 books, and my debut one is coming in a few months. It's a fantasy revenge story. If you're into that, then follow along, and you can see what happens with that. But I also have a background in directing and writing animations. I had a animation YouTube channel on YouTube called Smash Bracket, where we did different video games fighting, or video game characters fighting each other. And I was able to work a lot with animators and writers. And so I've kind of seen a lot of the process of what goes into creating at least the writing and animation side of stuff like this. The music side is a bit beyond me, but I'm here for the writing. Now, full disclosure, idea for this video goes out to a YouTuber called Beck Leavesley, who's also a fantasy author, and had this idea, and it was so much better than anything I would have thought of. Go watch her video. Watch her video and then come back to mine. But please come back to mine. I've heard great things about this. I don't want to put it off anymore. I don't know too much about the Odyssey, so I'm really going to be kind of coming at this just from a storytelling perspective. I know bits and pieces, but yeah, I'm not going to put it off anymore. Let's get into it. Starting with the first one. This is animated by Gigi, I think you say. And it's The Horse and the Infant. Flash warning, by the way. All right, let's get into it.
All right, my brothers, listen closely. Tonight we make the Trojans pay. 10 years of war, they killed us slowly, but now we'll be the ones who slay.
Okay, already this is really interesting. So, the creator of this musical, I think his name is Jorge. He's using this narrative technique called in media res, which is basically where you're starting in the action. From what I know of the Odyssey, it starts with his son Telemachus, I think. Telemachus, and it's his mother's Penelope. She's getting married off and has this contest, and they talk about Odysseus, our main character, as like this mythical hero who has all these legends and stories about him. But if you look at this, we are starting like very intimate and close up with Odysseus here. He's not really portrayed as like a legendary figure just from these first few lyrics and our first glimpse at him. He seems very much like a man who's in a tense situation, but not like a demigod, kind of, if that makes sense. And I don't think he's a demigod in the source material, but that's kind of how people talk about him from what I've gathered. Anyway, that's just something I picked up on, is choosing to start in the story in media res. Really interesting, really captivating. Let's keep going.
Closely. Tonight we make the Trojans pay. 10 years of war, they killed us slowly, but now we'll be the ones who slay. Think of your wives and your children. Your families wonder where you've been.
So that's really important right there. We have this big cast of characters. They haven't been named, but it's Odysseus and then all these different characters. And that's really ambitious and kind of hard to do from a writing perspective, because you have to know what are these characters fighting for, what brings them together, what are the stakes, and he sets it right there. Think of your wives and your children, your families wonder where you've been. We're immediately getting a look into the character motivations, and what's driving them, what grounds them. We know they're all here for a similar purpose. They don't want to be at war. They're trying to end it. I also love the subtle world building of showing the drunken city people passed out.
I will be the ones who slay.
Where is it?
Think of your wives and your... My brothers, listen closely. Tonight we make the Trojans pay.
Yeah, right there. It tells a lot without even having to say it. Really cool.
10 years of war, they killed us slowly.
We also get the sense 10 years, it's a while.
We'll be the ones who slay. Think of your wives and your children. Your families wonder where you...
Okay, I swear I'm going to get past the 30-second mark, but I have one more thing to comment. So he brings up the wives and the children, but he brings it up after the fact of mentioning that tonight they're just going to kill everyone. Tonight, it's their time to slay. And that's kind of a harsh thing for a protagonist to do right off the bat, is saying, we're going to go into the city of people who are passed out and we're going to just kill everyone. But he immediately softens it and anchors it by telling us about families and children, things that a lot of people can relate to. Believe it or not, I used to be a child, so I can relate to that. But yeah, really interesting choice there. Let's keep going.
They're growing old and yet you're still here. Do what I say and you'll see them again. Yes, sir. Diomedes will lead the charge. Agamemnon will flank the yards. Menelaus will let our mates through the gates to take the whole city at large. Teucer will shoot any ambush attacking. Little Ajax will stay back. Okay. Secure Helena, protect.
Why did you bring little Ajax, Odysseus? Why did you bring him if he's just staying back? What, he's just popping his head over the wall. Okay, before I can comment on the writing, holy crap, this animation. It's so fluid and everything. It's like a continuous shot as we see his plan unfolding. This is so cool.
Diomedes will lead the charge. Agamemnon will flank the yards. Menelaus will let our mates through the gates to take the whole city at large. Teucer will shoot any ambush attacking. Little Ajax will stay back. Nestor, secure Helena, protector. Leo, avenge your father, kill the brothers of Hector.
Okay. Oh, he's doing so much and so little. Like, this is such a tightly written song so far. Okay, we're gonna break it down, going through.
They're growing old and yet you're still here.
So do what you say and I'll see them again. Even that, like, it's not just reinforcing the character's motivations. This is showing Odysseus is a leader. Like, he's showing us his expertise. He's not just tapping into their motivations for the audience's sake, even though it does do that. He's doing it as a motivation tactic, a way to get people riled up. And it works because we go immediately from his speech into this change of animation and this change in energy. Another thing I noticed is we have, like I said, a large cast here, and Jorge does something really interesting. He names them all, which generally when you're writing, you want to stay away from introducing a lot of proper nouns, one after another, named after named after named, because it gets to a point where it's just noise and you can't keep track of it. But he breaks that rule here, and I think he does it for a really specific effect. It creates the sense not only that we're looking at a giant war, where there's so many different players, and it's just this overwhelming horde of soldiers, I guess, but it's also a characterization thing, that among all of these soldiers, Odysseus knows them all by name. He knows all of their strengths. He knows where they're best served. Sorry, little Ajax. And so we get this rapid boom, boom, boom onslaught of name, you do this, name, you do this, name, you do this. And it's showing that Odysseus has thought this through. He's optimized his strategy. He knows his soldiers. He cares about them. Little Ajax is useless. Sorry, buddy. And he does all of this in 30 seconds. This is incredible. Okay. Okay. I hope that this is interesting because this is going to be a freaking long video, man. All right, let's go.
Them again. Yes, sir. Diomedes will lead the charge. Agamemnon will flank the yards. Menelaus.
Real fast. Okay, wait, one more subtle thing. Look at the camera here. We're not looking directly on at the horse. It's tilted slightly up. We get like this heroic, imposing frame of Diomedes as he jumps out. And he's like dwarfing the horse in size with how it's framed, like the perspective. And it immediately, with this color change, creates like this heroic, triumphant perspective as we see his plan go into, fall into place.
Will lead the charge. Agamemnon will flank the yards. Menelaus will let our mates through the gates to take the whole city at large. Teucer will shoot any ambush attacking. Little Ajax will stay back.
And we see he's thought of everything. Like he's thought of every different aspect of this battle, and he's been able to optimize who's going where and who's doing what. It's so smart. Both smart for the character and smart from Jorge.
Avenge your father, kill the brothers of Hector. Yes,
and right there, avenge your father, kill the brothers of Hector. Once again, we get that personal element. We know what they're fighting for. We can see this isn't just opening on an onslaught on this group of people. We're getting a look into their lives. We're seeing like they have stakes. They have things that they're putting into this that they really care about. Anyway. So the fact that that's repeated there not only shows that it's a sentiment that's echoed by everyone, but I think that's like flagging it as being narratively important. The whole story is about to deal with these questions. What do you live for? What do you try for? What do you wish for? What do you fight for? This is setting up something that's important that I think is going to be our theme for the story. That's going to anchor us into Odysseus' story as he goes forward. But let's see. And there we go. So this is something interesting that he's done where he's started general with think of your wives and your children. And then he gets specific and goes into Penelope, another name. But if he started off by saying, think of Penelope, think of this, it would have just been more names without the context to care about it. But because he went ahead and framed it as think of your wives and your children, we immediately know through how the song is written that he's talking about his wife here, even if you're not familiar with the Odyssey. Oh, it's so smart. And he's balancing this with some pretty difficult names for English speakers, at least unorthodox ones. And there's so many names in this, and he's making it work.
I fight for us. I fight for us.
Oh, that was cool. That was really cool. Okay, so we get this kind of intense lighting with the yellow torchlight. And then we're pulled into his mind. We're pulled into his mind, and it's like monotone and gray and kind of bluish, like whimsical. You get that bloom at the bottom. So we still have this interesting lighting. But then...
Penelope and Telemachus, I fight for us. I fight for us.
And then there's just that haunted look on his face as the lighting changes. The soldiers are still asking that question. They're grappling with it. And we can see, like, that's where his mind is. He's not as confident as he seems, I don't think. It's interesting. He's really grounding us to the humanity of Odysseus. Like, rather than painting him as a mythical figure, he's like painting him as just a man, essentially. Like, very, very human. And so even though he's saying, hey, let's go kill a bunch of people, we're deeply connected because of how he's chosen to write this and because of his execution of how he wrote it, where he's starting general, he's getting specific, and we're getting in the head of our protagonist. Yeah. Anyway, let's keep going.
Penelope, Telemachus, I'm on my way. Attack!
Oh, that's cool. That is so cool. Oh! What was that? Who was that? Yeah. Okay, actually, that's interesting. I'm curious how I had the exact same question at the exact same time that the character had Vicarious with me. That's really cool. That was a really cool experience right there. Okay, I want to see that again. It's like a skeletal warrior or a spirit. That's really cool looking. Okay. Yeah, and then the instruments that had been accompanying the army drop out and everything changes. So I think that's what he did there to make it feel so different. So we had that question of like, what just happened? Who was that? What was that? And Odysseus voices it at the same time that the audience is experiencing that. So that's another thing that's like connecting us with him. Oh, this is so cool. Ah!
Who was that?
A vision of what
Oh, that's cool. Turn the clouds into Zeus. That is cool.
cannot be outrun, can only be dealt with right here and now.
Tell me how.
I don't think you're ready.
So that's interesting characterization. Odysseus doesn't even flinch that a god has just talked to him and told him there's something that you got to do. He's just like, let's get it over with. Let's figure it out. Look at the determination on his face. Like, he is, this isn't his first rodeo. And I don't know the origin of Odysseus, but I'm guessing like he's had experiences with gods before just because of how he was written right here. That's so interesting.
A mission to kill someone's son, a foe who won't run, unlike anyone.
And then even now,
faced before.
he's just dauntless going forward, willing to take this on at a moment's notice and do what has to be done. And we know it's because of Penelope and Telemachus. We've been grounded in that.
Say no more. I know that I'm ready.
I don't think you're ready.
Ugh.
It's just an infant.
And I feel like he looks like Telemachus in that flashback that we
Just
saw.
a boy. What sort of imminent threat does he pose that I cannot avoid?
This is the son of none other than
So that's interesting as well, is we get this very determined, dedicated Odysseus who's willing to do anything, but he has lines where he's like, I'm not going to hesitate. I'm going to do what Zeus is telling me to do. I'm going to do what has to be done. But then we see how this, like, it's genuinely affecting him. Which, it's so interesting how Jorge is balancing the unpleasant nature of what Odysseus is doing in this song with making him deeply relatable. Oh, that's so interesting. Okay.
Troy's very own Prince Hector.
Oh, that was cool.
Grow from a boy to an avenger, one fumed with rage as you're consumed by age.
Oh, that's so cool.
Don't end him now, you'll have no one left to save you.
I don't believe Zeus for a freaking second. Zeus is a liar. But I mean, we'll see. Maybe he's honest. Maybe I'm just too skeptical.
Boy to an avenger, one fumed with rage
Oh, this
as you're
animation.
consumed by age. If you don't end him now, you'll have no one left to save. You can say goodbye to. You can say goodbye to.
I could raise him as my
Okay. Oh, this sucks to feel this, like, I feel like a pit in my chest of, like, the stakes are so clear within just 3 minutes. We're already having our protagonist debate infanticide, essentially, which is bold. Normally you want a save the cat moment, which is where your protagonist does something really, like, relatable or something that helps you empathize with them. Traditionally, it can literally be saving a cat. But in this, it's a kill the baby moment. And that is bold. That is a bold choice. And I'm curious to see how he pulls this off. Already, first off, this framing is just really nice of, like, putting him on the thirds, but filling up this space here with the Zeus mists. All right. So it seems like he's going to be trying to rationalize it and looking for other ways out instead of just killing this baby. Oh, and he's so, like, paternal in how he's holding him. Like, you can tell he cares. Like, he genuinely cares. It's just, it's this baby versus Penelope and Telemachus, and he's already made it abundantly clear in just the first couple of minutes where his priorities are. He throws down his sword. Then you do it.
Please don't make me do this. Don't make me do this.
Oh, it hurts.
Blood on your hands is something you won't lose. All you can choose is food.
Whoa, that line.
Please don't make me do this. Don't make me do this.
The blood on your hands is something you won't lose. All you can choose
Dang.
is food.
I don't have much to comment on that besides that's a really good line. Okay. Oh, actually, one last thing with the animation. Look at where we open, this opening shot.
my
Look how composed and thoughtful he is versus a very similar framing when we leave him. Oh my gosh, like look at that contrast. That's so interesting. It's just really good visual storytelling right there. And look how similar the framing is. And the lighting's different. This is really good. Okay, that's the first song. It only took me 20 minutes to talk about it. Oh gosh, I hope Epic fans like watching Epic content, because I got so much to say. This is so smartly written and so well put together. Let's get into Just a Man, the next song. So it takes place right after what we just watched. This is by Gigi again. I'm just so impressed. Oh my gosh. Plus it adds le drama. Okay. So we see they're still fighting outside when all this is going on. That's a really interesting contrast to the intensity of the war outside versus how reserved it is inside. Oh, that transition.
You're as old as he was when I left for
Look how young he looks. Oh my gosh.
these actions.
Okay, I need to talk about the writing. Okay, I'm getting distracted. So this is interesting because it's Odysseus talking, but he's not just telling us why he's struggling with this moment. He looks into his eyes and thinks back to his son, but it's using that to really hammer in that core motivation that we established in the last song as well. Like, every line in this has a purpose, and all of it is just so tightly written. This is so good.
Hunt my days, every man I've slain is the price I pay, endless pain.
Ah!
Close your eyes and spare yourself the view. How could
Oh my gosh, okay. Oh, this is freaking me out. Oh my gosh. Like, this is just such a gut-wrenching decision he has to make right off the bat. I don't know how you come back from this from a storytelling perspective where you keep a protagonist likable if he goes through with this. Like, that's a pretty tough sell. Like, we see how much he's warring. We see this internal conflict within him. We see, like, he's willing to give up anything if it means that he gets to see his wife and his son. But this is a big sell. This is a big ask of the audience to buy into this character after what I think he's about to do.
I hurt you? I'm just a man who's
Oh, that's cool.
trying to go home, even after all the years away from what I've known. I'm just a
And then Just a Man. Hey, like I was saying, Just a Man, he's not this mythical, legendary figure, or at least not yet. He's just a person who wants his wife. Like, Jorge took this epic, legendary concept that's been around for a long, long, long time and took this very well-known character and made him so human. So human and so relatable, even as he is contemplating killing a baby. What a wild sentence. What a wild sentence. Okay.
just a man who's trying to go home, even after all the years away from what I've known. I'm just a man who's fighting for his life.
Oh, and right there. So this isn't just him looking at his helmet. Look at the separation that window makes between the two halves of him. It's the family man on one side, and then we have the soldier on the other. And he's deciding, like, what's it worth being? And you can see the baby in between in the background splitting them. Oh, that's so smart. That is so cool. So we're humanizing Odysseus, despite this awful thing that I think he's about to do. We're showing this contrast between the two sides of him and how he's trying to find balance. And my guess is if he kills this baby, we're going to have a symbolic moment of him putting this helmet back on and choosing the soldier side. Let's see.
Deep down I would trade the world to see my son and wife.
Oh, that's interesting. So his horse melts. The horse that had all of his men in it. That melts and goes away as he talks about the fact that he would trade everything to see his son and wife. That's fascinating. That's a really telling character moment, I think.
Deep down I would trade the world to see my son and wife. I'm just a man.
Oh, and then he was flashing back to the
But
warrior
when
version.
does a comet become a meteor? When does a candle become a blaze? When does a man become a monster?
Oh, that's so cool.
When does
So he has it on, he's still warring with it, but he's dehumanizing the child in order to do this. Like, you see that darkness growing out of him. You see him, like, he's going to do this. He knows what he has to do. He knows what he doesn't want to do, but he's going to do it. But before he could put the helmet on, before he could make the action, or take the action, the baby started to, become monstrous and had this grow out of him. And he's looking in the mirror and thinking to, like, this monstrous version of himself and who this baby could become. That's really interesting.
does a comet become a meteor? When does a candle become a blaze?
And all of these lyrics are about
Does a man
progression.
become a monster? When does a ripple become a tidal wave? When does the reason become the blame? When does a man become a monster?
Ugh. And you see his family right there, and the way that he's positioned, looking down, heading towards the flames and the intensity of battle, holding this baby. You know what he's about to do. This is so smart with how it's telling the story. One other thing, when does a comet become a meteor? When does a candle become a blaze? When does a man become a monster? When does... I forget the other lyrics. But these are all progressions. These are things that start off kind of innocuous, becoming something that's out of control. And it's just really interesting framing. I think that this is what we call in writing the theme stated in the Save the Cat outlining framework, where you have a thematic idea that you take and you state usually within the first 5% of a story. And once you state it, that's going to kind of envelop the rest of your narrative. And with how this is being portrayed, that's my guess, is this question of when does a man become a monster? What do you live for? What do you die for? What do you fight for? Whatever. I think this is all coming together to be our theme stated. And I think that this is going to inform the rest of everything that we see. Oh, and he's just getting consumed by it. Oh, and he's all shadowed out. Look at that framing. Look at that. That is so cool. We see... it reminds me of Attack on Titan almost, and how it's shot when the Wall Titan, or Colossus Titan, I forget which one it is, breaks over the top. We get that look at the soldiers looking up at the wall. And he's just this silhouette with the flames there holding the baby. And look how small he is. Despite the framing, despite how huge this frame is, the character himself is small, and he's feeling small in the moment. He doesn't want to do this. He knows what he's about to do. And we can see all these men who are literally looking up to him. Oh, that's so cool. Oh.
I'm just a man.
Oh, okay. I did not want to see him drop the baby. That was a lot. Okay, that little pop? Are you serious? I thought the pop was the baby hitting the ground. Okay. Wow. Okay. And then it ends with him, I'm just a man. And that seems like not only a lyric, but an admission of things that he's willing to do. He'd trade the world to see his son and wife. At the end of the day, that's all he wants. That's his character. And so he just did, like, the most despicable act that I think I've seen from a character in a long time in the opening of a story. And somehow I don't hate him. I should hate him right now, but I don't. And I even though I've broken this all down, I don't understand how that happened. I guess maybe because we see just how human he is, how much he warred with this. But I don't care if you're warring with it, you just dropped a baby off of a wall. Little Ajax was watching. Everyone was watching. Everyone was looking up to him, and he still did this. He knew it would change how his men see him. They're literally looking up as he's doing this, and he still does it. Because a god promised that it would keep his son and wife safe. Like, the amount that he's willing to give up for that is wild. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, next up we have Full Speed Ahead. Let's see what happens. Wow. Wow. I don't have anything to say. So this is by Wolfie the Witch.
Men, 600 men under my command, with only one goal in mind: make it back alive to our homeland.
There we go. Okay, so again, we're just restating that theme. They have one goal. They want to make it back alive to where they came from. He's got 600 of them. This enhances the last song, or the 2 songs ago, when he went through all of the different warriors and knew their names and knew what they did and knew how to best use them, except for little Ajax, who I theorize is still back in Troy. Is that where they were, Troy? He knew their names. He knew what to have them do. He's a good leader. It's just at his core, he's just a man who... What was the lyric? I'm just a man who's trying to go home. I would trade the world to see my son and wife. But look how haunted he looks here over what he did. Oh, that's so interesting.
600 men, 600 miles of open sea. But the problem's not the distance, it's what lies in between.
So this is really interesting writing here. He's talking about a problem that's coming up, something that's lying in between. But if he just led with that, like, there's a problem, this is what we're facing, that would have the same impact as if he didn't have the setup here, where we see we see his soldiers, we see what they have at stake, we're reminded where they are, what they want, and now with this context, we're able to go forward and see what the problem is. And now that we have a setup, I think we're going to get into the conflict really fast. Okay. Oh, I have so much to say. This is so good. Okay, so Ithaca's waiting. His kingdom is waiting. That world builds that he's both probably a king and he's from a place called Ithaca. But if they had dropped that in the last 2 songs, if they put it in the first song, Ithaca would have been too much. That would have just been one other name, one place to keep track of. It would have fallen into the background. If they put it in the second song, that he's a king and from Ithaca, that would detract from the emotional core that they built, that Jorge built so strongly there. Well, I'll say they, because it's Jorge and the animator who did an incredible job. But from a pure writing standpoint, it's interesting to wait until the 3rd song to say where he's going. That's a really interesting writing and world building choice. Interesting choice there in the music. Odysseus isn't the one who refers to Eurylochus alone. It's all of the people who sing his name, kind of announcing him. And both with how he's introduced and how he's framed here, we immediately get the sense that he's a person who's in control or has some amount of authority here. Look at how he's standing, listen to how they sing his name, the fact that he's willing to approach Odysseus head on. Like, this is... although I get the sense that he's a leader who wouldn't have an issue with any of his men approaching him head on, with how he's been written. Maybe little Ajax.
600 men with big mouths
Yeah,
to feed.
there's the conflict.
And we run out of supplies to eat. First the war of whose stores depleted.
Okay.
600 men. 600 reasons to take what we can. So, Captain, what's the plan? Captain, what's the plan?
Watch where the birds fly. They will lead us to life.
That's so cool. So that's character building right there, where we're seeing just how competent Odysseus is as a leader and as a strategist, where he has this issue brought to him by Eurylochus, was that his name? He has this issue brought to him and he doesn't hesitate at all to immediately have a plan to save his men. Like, he wants to get home, he wants to see his wife and his son, but he still deeply cares about his men, and he's thinking about this. This is interesting.
Yeah, we'll hunt for food by
Second in command.
Now for speed ahead.
So, from a musical standpoint, and I won't speak too much on the musical standpoint because that's not my expertise, it's interesting. We have Eurylochus going, "We're off and away we go," and then that's echoed by the troops. So we get more of that look into the amount of command that Eurylochus has over his troops. New character. So immediately, glasses are weird for me, not gonna lie. Immediately, there's a difference with his character and how he's being portrayed. He's smiley, the music gets lighter, and just visually look at how he's lighted compared to how Odysseus is lighted here. This is immediately giving the sense of a character who's more optimistic and kind of the lighter side compared to how look how Eurylochus is shaded and Brian. They're both operating like this darker shade of gray, and then we have Polites. We have Polites come in, and he's the contrast is he's better lit, I guess, and there's just a softer change to his music.
I see an island, I see a light that faintly glows. Maybe they're people lighting a fire. Maybe they'll share some food, who knows?
That's really interesting. So, Eurylochus was like, here's a problem, we need to do something. Odysseus was like, here's a strategy, let's follow it. But Polites is like, here's people, maybe there's human beings, maybe there's friends, maybe there's goodness and kindness. He's not saying maybe there's food there. He's saying maybe there's people, and then the people will help, but not necessarily there's going to be food there. It seems small, but it's a really interesting way of framing it that tells you a lot about this character and his priorities.
Something feels off here. I see fire, but there's no smoke.
I say we strike first. We don't.
Oh, look at this! Look at this! This is so cool. Okay, so we have Polites, who's lit the lightest and the brightest. He had the purest outlook on it. Maybe there's people, maybe there's friends, maybe there's someone who can help us. And then we have Odysseus, who's like, yeah, that's nice, buddy, but here's the strategy. Something is off here, but he's not necessarily hardened. And then we have Eurylochus, who's darker shaded than the other two, and he's saying, what did he say? Did he say, I say we strike?
But there's no smoke.
I say we strike
Yeah.
first. We don't have time to waste, so let's raid the...
Look at the storytelling you get just from those lines. You know who each of these characters are. You have Odysseus here in the center and kind of his shoulder angels. The not happier, but the more optimistic voice in his head, and then the more pragmatic voice, I guess is how I would say it. And we just learn a lot from both.
No. Polites, gear up. You and I'll go ahead. You and I'll go ahead. We should try to find a way no one ends up dead.
Again, caring about his men.
Give me till sunrise, and if we don't return, then 600 men can make this whole place burn.
Oh, that's such interesting characterization. So we're getting Odysseus, who's saying, I'm not doing either extreme. I'm not just going in blindly. I'm not going to go trust these people, hope that there's people or hope that they're friendly when there's no smoke coming from their fire. Something is weird here, but I'm also not going to just go kill them. And so he's listening to both of his shoulder angels here, coming away with a compromise that's still kind of morally ambiguous, where he's saying, we're going to make this entire place burn if we don't come back. And not just make it burn, but all 600 of us are going to go in. Really interesting characterization, really smart writing.
Now for speed ahead. For speed ahead. For speed ahead. We're up, we're off,
And the music is just so good. And you get the sense with everyone singing that everyone is on board. Everyone is trusting Odysseus implicitly. Okay, next is Open Arms. This is by Mercy. So they're on the island now.
You can relax, my friend.
So interesting music, similar with how I mentioned the setup and context was important to understanding the conflict of the last one. The music is doing that. We immediately know we're on the island from the soundscape. Things are different, they're in a different location, and we're leading with polities. So we know that something has fundamentally changed. Yeah.
You can relax, my friend.
Glasses are back.
I can tell you're getting nervous. So
Is this just like, okay, wait. Question for the Epic fandom. Is this just like a generally agreed upon thing in the Epic fan base that Polities has glasses?
Nervous. And try to relax, my friend. And find Polities. Think of all that we have been through. We'll survive. What do we get?
From a writing perspective, this is interesting. We're getting a background on these characters, where with Eurylochus, I got the sense that they trusted each other, but this feels like more than that. This feels like they're friends, that they've grown up together or something, or maybe they're more than friends, I don't know. But he's immediately reading through his stress and picking up on these signs that he's giving off, that something's really stressing him out beyond what's normal.
This and try to relax, my friend, and find Polities. Think of all that we have been through. We'll survive. What do we get into? I know that you're tired of the war and bloodshed. Tell me, is this how we're supposed to live? Look at how you grip your sword. Enough said. Why should we take when we could give?
That's really interesting writing there again. Oh, he threw away his sword. So we're starting off general and getting specific again. I know you're tired of the war and bloodshed. We get this, he's tired of this general thing that's been going on for 10 years. But then instead of telling us, like, your mental health and your emotional health are tanking, all he says is, look at how you're gripping your sword. And that shows us how, both how perceptive Polities is to Odysseus, but also it characterizes Odysseus in a really interesting way, where he is still actively being affected by all of this. And that's just conveyed through, look at how you're holding your sword.
Tell me, is this how we're supposed to live? Look at how you grip your sword. Enough said. Why should we take when we could give?
Oh, they are so gay. But he's married. Okay.
When you stop and lower your guard.
Oh, but they're so gay. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the gay. They're so cute. Okay.
Show a person that you trust them. When you stop and lower your guard, here we have a chance for some adjustment. Give it a try, it's not that hard. I'm telling you, this life is amazing when you greet it with open arms. Whatever we face, we'll be fine if we're leading from the heart.
I'm curious, whatever we face will be fine if we're leading from the heart. It would be really easy from a writing perspective to have this more upbeat narrative be what the author is portraying as, this is the truth. This is the ultimate ideal that our protagonist needs to realize. I don't think that's what's happening here, because of how fluffy and light Polities is here with his lyrics, even just the music and how he's animated here as well. I think this is still that shoulder angel talking, rather than representing an absolute truth of the story. I think this is showing what one extreme is going to look like. And I don't think it's going to necessarily be the right path if Odysseus listens to him.
No matter the place, we can light up the world. Here's how to start. Greet the world with open arms. Greet the world with open arms.
Stay back.
Okay. And again, we see that immediate contrast. That Polities is like, this is amazing, da, 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 open arms. And then Odysseus is like, no, you get back the second anything is off. So he was listening to Polities, he was letting him talk. And I think he was internalizing what he was saying, but I don't get the sense that he was necessarily buying into all of it. He was having that strategic mind of taking what he says into consideration, but still on alert, ready to go with his sword at like the drop of a hat. And I think we're going to see more of that. I would burn down everything to see my wife and kids here.
My friend, greet the world with open arms.
Don't pull a sword away.
We're only here for food.
Yeah, he's holding it back.
600 friends are waiting for us to show our faces. Stay back, I'm warning
Yeah.
you.
So we see this pragmatic, strategic side that I think Eurylochus also represents. That stayed with him despite Polites having this narrative of being optimistic and friendly and loving.
If we don't get back safely, my men will turn this place into blazes.
They're so cute.
See?
No, don't eat it. Oh, they're so sweet though. Yeah. Oh, and look at that difference. He's got like the chibi arms going, yay! And Odysseus is studying the fruit rather than eating it. Yeah, this is interesting because he's not taking the easy out. He's not making this is what the protagonist should believe song. He's saying this is one extreme and our protagonist needs to find a balance. Yeah.
So we can light up the world, here's how to start. Greet the world with open arms, greet the world with open arms. My friend, I wish that I could say that I agree.
Yeah, and he's pushing back.
But look at the way this fruit is glowing and filled with glowing seeds.
He's so perceptive and smart. Like, that's a through line in every song so far. He has humanity. He's deeply sympathetic. He's deeply relatable. But he's also so competent. He's a great leader, and he's so smart and crafty.
Took me a while to notice just what kind of fruit they eat. It's a lotus. It controls your mind and never lets you free. That's what we'd get with open arms.
So if he had listened to Polites, he really would have been mind controlled. That's interesting. Yeah. So this isn't the "this is what you should believe" song. This really is, this is what extremes get you. And try to have open arms, try to be more optimistic, but balance that with who you are at your core, because you just saved all of your men by not directly listening to Polites. That's a really interesting choice. And it's so much more interesting than if he made this "this is the correct position" song.
Lotus eaters, I'd like to show my friend that kindness is brave. Could you tell me where there's other food to eat?
Oh, he's so sweet. He's so sweet. And I don't trust these little bastards for a second. I don't trust them at all. They just tried to give him lotus fruit. But he's so trusting and willing to ask for more rather than having any ill intent. And that's really interesting and strong characterization that just comes through crystal clear.
A cave.
The scary cave.
You're saying there's a cave where we could feast.
He just takes it all in stride.
To find this food-filled cave.
Small animation detail. Notice how they're not animating the tops of the glasses, and that way we can see the eyebrows and the eyes be more expressive. That's really cool.
This life is amazing when you greet it with open arms.
I don't trust him.
I see in your face there's so much guilt inside your
That's a good line. We see that he's still affected, not just by what happened with the baby, but the last 10 years.
heart. So why not replace it and light up the world? Here's how to start. Greet the world with open arms. Greet the world with open arms.
I don't trust him. I trust Polites, but
Open arms. You can relax, my friend.
so maybe he was convincing him by the end of that. It's not necessarily portrayed as the right position, but he was So actually, okay, real fast, animation detail. This is interesting. It has a flash warning, but this is actually a pretty safe flash as far as I understand. Like, there are flashes, but I think the general rule is if it's less saturated, if it's more black and white, and if you don't have a bunch, like one after another, rapidly changing colors, I think they say 3 per second or less. 3 per second or less. I'm really smart. That it's within the guidelines of what's safe. Don't trust me as an authority on that, but that is something that I heard doing my own animations, and we tried to have that be a thing, because when you have energy clashes, it's really easy to have flash, 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 but that can be like a dangerous thing. Anyway, that's just animation note. Are you truly fine, Odysseus? Let's just go. Okay. And last song for this bunch coming up is Warrior of the Mind. So this is picking up right after the last song, I think, in that little epilogue. Oh, that's cool. Oh, so the spirit we saw being pulled away was...
Athena!
Yeah, and there's the writing. Okay. Have you forgotten the lessons that I taught you, Athena? We have this goddess. I was right earlier. It isn't his first rodeo with gods and goddesses. That's maybe why he wasn't fazed by Zeus and why he just took it in stride, is he has experience in this domain. Oh, okay, and this is interesting too. Athena, who presumably knows him really well, just on account of her being Athena, notices him not turning off his heart as being out of character for him. So him being able to have that shut-off switch and kill that baby in the first two songs, that was more in character with how Athena knows him than this open arms philosophy that Polites is bringing in. So I'm going to be curious to see how Athena tries to undo what Polites just did, because I think that's what's happening here.
This is not you. I see you changing from how I've designed you.
Oh, this is so cool.
Have you forgotten your purpose? Let me remind you.
So that's an interesting line. Have you forgotten your purpose? Because every song has driven home that his purpose is to see his wife and son. So I'm curious how she sees his purpose.
Goddess of wisdom.
Oh, that's a cool frame.
Master of war. My life has one mission.
Really cool character design.
Create the greatest war.
Oh, that animation. Okay. So her mission is she wants to create the greatest warrior. We don't know why yet, but that is notably different than his mission, which is I just want to get home. That's interesting. I'm wondering if that's going to develop.
Had a challenge, a test of skill, a magic bar only the best would kill. One day a boy came for the
That Polites. Oh, and Eurylochus. I think that's who that was. Are they all childhood friends? Or is that just the animator's interpretation of it? And even still in this, he's balanced between the two sides, even as a boy.
a boy whose mind rivals
And he's making battle plans. So he's always been strategic. It's not something that Athena gave him. It's something that he's had even presumably before he met her with this challenge. And strategic to a point that not only is the goddess looking up to him. Oh, whoa. You can see her looking from the... Look at this. The plants and the rocks. They are Athena and someone else. Anyway, so he's doing battle plans for this boar, even from a young age, and two of his men are already looking up to him.
for the thrill, a boy whose mind rivaled the bar's own will.
Let's go!
Maybe one day he'll follow me and we'll make a greater tomorrow. Then they'll see
So-
I know.
Athena is very altruistic. She wants a better tomorrow. She wants to change the world. And contrast that with Odysseus, who we know from the first few songs, he has humanity, but he's also a deeply selfish character. Not necessarily in a negative way, but in a sense that he's choosing things for this core group of people that are just so important to him, and he would burn the world for them. And so it's a contrast of Odysseus saying, I'd burn the world down multiple times over to save my son and wife, just to see my son and wife, I think was the lyric. And then Athena sees this strategic side in him saying, no, he's going to change the world. He's going to make it a better place. And I think it comes and goes quickly, but these aren't compatible world visions. Like, these aren't compatible goals, despite her seemingly being his mentor.
He'll change the world 'cause he is a warrior of the night. Maybe one
Oh, and they
day
were all
I'll
friends.
reach him and
Yeah,
we
okay.
can build his skills as I teach him. If there's a problem, he'll have the answer. He is a warrior of the
So
night.
even the goddess of goddess of wisdom is trusting in his mind. Like, this is really good character and world building where we see just how smart he is.
Show yourself. I know you're watching me. Show yourself. I can see you.
How can you see through my spell?
I was lying, and you fell for my bluff.
Okay, oh, that's cool. So we see he's outsmarting a goddess from being like a teenager or a preteen or however young he was here. He's already just brilliant to the level that his friends are following him. This goddess is admiring him. He was able to take down a magic boar. That's like his biggest strength.
I was lying, and you fell for my bluff.
Well done, enlighten me, what's your name?
You first, and maybe I'll do the same.
Nice try, but two can play this game.
Nah, don't be modest. I know you're a goddess, so let's be honest.
So
you are a
that's interesting world building as well. He's not giving his name. Is that because names have power in this world and in this mythos? Or is he just posturing? I think either is really effective. And the way her mask is torn away is so cool.
Let's be honest, you are a Athena.
Oh, that's so cool.
Badass in the arena. Unmatched witty and queen of the best strategies we've seen.
If you're looking for
So they both have a deep respect for each other.
time's well spent.
Sounds like a plan. Goddess and man, best is the
He'll
friends.
see where it ends.
Okay.
Okay, no. That seemed like a throwaway joke. Like, best as friends, we'll see where it ends. But that's highlighting the difference in their goals. He's looking for friends. He's looking for, or at least right now, he's looking for a human connection, a human element. That's what he cares about. Whereas she's looking at this greater tomorrow, this better picture of a world. They're really not as compatible as they seem.
Maybe one day they'll follow me and we'll make a greater tomorrow. Then they'll see
Oh, but he's
will change the
singing with her, so maybe he does, at least for right now, he shares this, he does share this goal. He wants to make a better tomorrow, but we know something happens between now and when we find him in our first song to where that's changed, where he does care about the world, it seems, but he cares about his men and he cares about his family more than anything. He would burn the world to save his men, and he would get rid of everything to save his son and wife, to see his son and wife. Interesting.
World, 'cause we are the warriors of the mind.
Maybe one day we'll reach them and we can build their skills as we teach
That's fun.
them. If there's a
Oh, a dog.
problem, we'll have the answer. We are the warriors of the
And then we see him come to power. So he's really come to power because of her. Or no, not because of her, because he was so brilliant before. She's just instrumental in it at the same time. Like, she's a really big factor, despite I think their goals conflict more than the characters think they conflict.
I still intend to make sure you don't fall behind. Don't forget that you're a warrior of a very special kind. You are a warrior of the mind.
Oh, and she turned him into an apple. And she tosses the apple back to him. He catches it and it ends. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Are you truly fine, Odysseus? And we pick up where it cut in before. Let's just go. All right. Oh, that was so cool. Okay, those are the first 5 songs. I talked forever. This has been an hour long. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that this was fun for you. An hour to go through 5 songs is pretty. I mean that's a lot. So I hope that this is something that you liked watching. If you did, please let me know. I would love to do more of these. I'm going to watch these animatics regardless. But if you all are interested, I will happily record and watch them with you all and give my thoughts that I'm taking to this as an author and someone who's written animations. It's so high quality. It is so good, and it's so tightly written. Every single sentence is doing something, doing multiple things. Like, even the throwaway ones, like goddess and man, bestest of friends, that's actively characterizing what I think is going to grow into a conflict between the two characters. This contrast between Odysseus and his humanity versus Athena's desire to use him as a tool to better humanity. it's interesting because Athena seems inherently altruistic, whereas Odysseus seems at his core selfish. Someone who cares about others, but when it comes down to it, he's going to make the call that favors the people he loves most, at the cost of anyone else. And I think that is so interesting. As we go forward, I suspect we're going to see more of that theme of not what makes a monster and what makes a man. That's Hunchback. But I mean, yeah, what makes a monster and what makes a man? At what point does a man become a monster? When does a man become a monster? I think that's the theme we're going to see going forward. And I think we're going to see this conflict grow between Athena and Odysseus. And I think through it all, it's just going to continue to be really good. I am so impressed. This is like the animatics add so much to this. And let's see, we had Gigi, Wolfie the Witch, and Mircy. I don't know if I'm saying those right, but they all did incredible. This was so good. Such tight, wonderful, impactful storytelling that isn't afraid to not pull its punches with what it asks its characters to do and grapple with. And it introduces these concepts that seem like they're going to be kind of one note, like open arms. That sounds like it's just a song that's do this is the right thing, but it's so much more nuanced than that. And oh, it's just so good. It's so good. Anyway, that's it. If you are interested in my own writing, my book, Strong at the Breaking, is going to be coming out in the next few months. So hit subscribe if you want to be notified for that. It's a fantasy revenge story about a girl who loses everything as a child, as a 9-year-old. And then she spends the next 9 years of her life systematically planning her revenge and trying to get it on the man who took everything from her. I think it's a really fun story, and it's going to build into an epic fantasy story with a big cast, and it's going to be fun. If you're interested in that, hit subscribe and follow me for my journey, and please let me know if you want to see more of this. I would love to watch more epic, because holy crap.